Well, welcome to the July 25th, 2023 session of Tangerine SDR and Hamside technical session, which we've added K9Q radio as part of this. And that seems to be the topic of discussion mostly these days. My name is Dave, KV0S, and I've been working on little projects, and I had a K9Q radio instance running quite well, and I had to do a reboot today, and I haven't been able to get it back running again today, so I need to do a fresh refresh from the GitHub and see if I can get it going.
Yeah, it's been changing. I've been changing it a lot recently. So yeah, try to keep fresh with it.
Okay.
I've been trying to debug Rob's problem with his RX888, which he seems to have blown up. We can tell you more about it.
Yes.
Was putting in error detection and checking code.
Very good. Well, let's go down the list and let people at least say hi. Next on the list is Nathaniel, W2NAF. Go ahead, Nathaniel.
Thanks, Dave. I spent a week in Switzerland at the International Space Science Institute with a group of other scientists, and it was a meeting talking about traveling ionospheric disturbances, specifically medium-scale traveling ionospheric disturbances. So as part of this meeting, one of our jobs is to write a review paper on everything that we currently know about medium-scale traveling ionospheric disturbances and what the open questions are. So I think that conference went really well. It was a lot of fun. Bern, Switzerland was absolutely beautiful. And while I was there, I tried to keep up with my emails as best I could and tried to respond to some of the questions that people had about the Personal Space Weather Station and what we're trying to do with that. So now I'm back and just trying to keep going forward. Back to net.
Very good. I visited the physics department in Bern a few years ago.
Oh, wow.
It was almost 25 years ago now, but so I know what the place looks like.
It's really nice.
Yes. Next on the list is Dave, KD0EAG. Go ahead, Dave.
Hello, my internet provider is flapping in and out this evening, and so I may not be with you very long. I'll keep it short. That's it for me.
Okay. Next on the list is Dev Joshi, KC3PVE. Go ahead, Dev.
Hello, good evening, everybody. I'm doing well, and I hope everybody is doing well too. I came here, as I told last week, I've been jobless, and I'm trying to see I can connect to my old friends here.
Very good. Do you have more comments?
I'm good.
Okay. Next on the list is Jim, K4BSE. Go ahead, Jim.
Well, good evening. Sorry, I'm a little bit late. Don't have a whole lot this evening. My big news right now is that I was doing some work in the yard this afternoon and tangled with a bunch of wasps, and I'm not feeling great this evening, although I'll survive it. I'm at the point now where I'm afraid I won't. Back to net, K4BSE.
Well, you take care of yourself.
Thank you.
And next on the list is Robinette, AI6BN. Go ahead, Rob.
Good evening, everyone. I've been completely engaged working with Phil on integrating K9Q radio into Whisper Daemon, in which I encountered my RX888 stopped working Saturday afternoon, and we're chasing down the source of the problem, but I think we need to talk to Franco about that. So that would be my preference for most of the discussion later today, because I'm basically I think I'm experiencing the same problem. I was fortunate to hear last weekend that others had their 888s go dead on them. And we think we understand the cause. We don't know the correction. Okay, but that would be that's what I hope we can get through this evening. Back to that.
Okay. Next on the list is Tom Yarnish. Go ahead, Tom.
Sitting here in California, enjoying some clear air at the moment and moderate temperatures while it lasts. I'm a fly on the wall, basically a groupie for Rob. I'm following along and helping and supporting his experiments where I can. So I guess the RX-888 is the next shoe to drop. So I'm basically a Rob groupie and hope to learn something this evening about implementing these new systems. Back to you.
Okay. Next on the list is Michael, A8K. Go ahead, Michael.
Thank you. Just got here. Greetings to everyone listening. Back to you, Dave.
Okay. And then next on the list, we have Art, KD60. Go ahead, Art.
Muted.
There you go.
Am I okay? There.
There
Sorry.
you go.
For some reason, my speakers aren't working and my mic goes live to my headphones. Anyway, hi, I'm Art KD60, out here in Sacramento. I think the term fly on the wall is about right for me. I'll try to keep the buzzing to a minimum.
Well, welcome, and hope you find something interesting.
Thank
Next on the list, we have Bill Engelkey, AB4EJ. Go ahead, Bill.
Thanks, Dave. Well, not a whole lot to report on this project. I've been mostly working on getting some data ready for a big analysis we're going to do on the NASA project of a mass FFT analysis so that we can train some machine learning for that. That's what I've been focusing on the past few days. So back to net.
Very good. Next on the list is Bob, N5BRG. Go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. Just checking in to see what kind of exciting things are going. Doing some work with my grape units now, trying to get them online along with the magnetometer and making some good progress there. So back to you, Dave.
Very good. Next on the list, we have David McGaw, N1HAC. Go ahead, David.
Good evening, everyone. Been a little bit different week this week. My three brothers and I came together to pack up my father's apartment and move him to another place. And being 94 years old, he had a lot of accumulated stuff that we had to go through. But radio-wise, I haven't gotten my RX-888 running yet. It sounds like there may be some difficulties getting it up to snuff with the project, but looking forward to being able to do that. And I guess that's about it from here. Oh, except that we continue to get the bane of a radio man's existence, thunderstorms. I had one pop up today right on top of us. 2:30, nothing. 2:40, boom, right on top. Nothing, including not even showing up on radar, but that's the nature of our climate over here. We get these pop-up thunderstorms and then they decide to just dump on us. But anyway, that's what grounding is for, I guess. So
yes.
Back to net.
Yes, I live in the Midwest and used to those things. Next on the list is Franco, K4VZ. Go ahead, Franco.
Hey, good evening, everyone. I don't have much to report. I've been just back from vacation, so I'm just checking my email and catching up with everything. Back to you, Dave.
Okay. Next on the list is Gary, AF8A. You seem to be a busy guy, Gary.
Oh, I've got a few things going on. Not so much for the net tonight, so I'll just listen in and see what's going on, Dave. Thanks. Back to
Okay.
you.
Well, Gary's working with organizing all the grape owners and getting them lined up for the eclipse coming up. Next on the list is Joe, W7LUX. Go ahead.
Good evening, Dave, and everyone on the net. Well, Grape's running and cranking out data. I helped KC4LE get his Grape up and running, and been running an RX888 here with SDR console for about a week. And I'm very interested in hearing what kind of problems others are having with it. Failure is kind of a interesting topic. And I finally this evening, courtesy of a friend up in St. George, Utah, found a 4 gigabyte Raspberry 4 Pi. So I'm cranking right along.
Well, very good. Next on the list is Jonathan, KC3EEY. Go ahead, Jonathan.
Hi, everybody. It's been quite a busy week for me. I've been working diligently on my 3-channel VLF backend system. I was able to fix the potentiometer wiring, and it turns out that I wasn't thinking, and I completely forgot basic electronics. But now I finally figured it out, and the GPS pulse per second signal is going into the resistor of the potentiometer, and then to ground, of course, and then the voltage divider is formed by the wiper, and then the wiper connects to the audio input of the sound card channel. And the reason why that I do that is because I don't know what level yet that the pulse per second signal is going to be. So what I'm looking for is 80% of the sound card's full scale. And that goes into one channel of the pulse per second of the sound card. I've been getting a lot of the wiring done. I ordered some hookup wire kits from Amazon to get all the wire colors and everything I need to make everything look nice and coherent. So that's slowly coming together. Soon it'll almost be time to power it on and play around with it, then start on the H-field receiver. Also, I've been replying to some emails. I hope they are of help. I don't know if they are. I replied to Nathaniel's email that he sent out to a couple members that are here regarding K9Q radios, or at least the end output data products for the experiments, and just I gave some information to Phil, and Phil, I apologize if I've been overloading you with emails. I just figured that I would kind of give you like a little background on the kind of experiments that they've been doing, and what they're really looking for once all the bugs are worked out and everything runs pretty stable. Bill, I also hope that I was helpful with changing the format of the PCM output. I use SOX quite a bit, and there's an option to run it instead of inputting a file. You would run a pipe, and then you would output that pipe into GNU Radio. since I don't have any that installed, I couldn't really give you the details about how it would work. I didn't really test it, but it was just an idea on how to convert the format. Also, I just received today a new AmScope microscope that I'm going to use for surface mount soldering. So I also have a new toy to play with. I have some Trimble GPS interface boards to build, and a bunch of other things. So, but other than that, I've been fairly busy. That's all I have. Back to the net.
Okay, next on the list, let's see, is Michael Howen, AC0G. Go ahead, Michael.
Good evening, everybody. Good to see you all. I've been fiddling with the RX888 and was stymied because I had one go bad. And so I kept thinking I was configuring things wrong and there was something screwy with the code and so on and so forth. Fortunately, Dave Witten had one he loaned me and I plugged it in and it fired up just great. And I'm currently using it to capture the audio of all the whisper frequencies and uploading them to WhisperNet. So I made it that far. I also, before I figured the hardware was bad, I did manage to build the a new radio plugin for Soapy that I can't be sure worked or didn't work. I was actually getting some kind of a signal, but I haven't yet debugged it, and I can't be confident of what it is because the radio may have been misbehaving. Anyway, got a couple more on order myself to fiddle with. Back to net.
Okay, next on the list is Phil, KA9Q. Go ahead, Phil.
Okay, I wish I had a real push to talk button here. As you know already, I've been working closely with Rob on my software, and I'm still having problems talking, so I'll turn it back to net.
Okay. Rob, I called on you, didn't I? Yes, okay. Next on the list.
Yes, you did. I'm sorry, I was muted.
Next on the list is Tom in 5EG. Go ahead, Tom.
Oh, good evening, Dave, and everyone in the group. Been a busy week. I tried to put together 3 use cases to answer Phil's question from last week on what we're trying to do. I don't know if that's helpful, but it's as simple description as I know how to come up with. I got an RX888, came this morning, and I got Phil's code installed and built. And I think I run into the case where the documentation is a little out of date with how to get it started. So I'll give that a try a little later. It's all built and I'm just trying to figure out how to get it started up. So I think I got some real good answers from Michael and Jonathan on that, and we'll give it a try a little later. Back to the group.
Okay, and next on the list is, I think I called on Tom Yarnish. So
Yeah, you did.
Yes. So I think I've called on everybody. If you haven't been called on, please let me know. And then we're open for general discussion.
Okay, well, I think for me, the big issue, and I think several others seem to have encountered it, and that was helpful to learn of, is that I was debugging my integration with Whisper Daemon and my 888 on Saturday afternoon, and the 888 had been running for a week just fine, and suddenly I could no longer find it. So what we found is that the 888, my 888 had changed its user ID. And I wonder if others who have lost access to their 888 might be finding the same thing. In Linux world, there's a ls-usb command that which shows you what Linux sees, what devices it sees. And in the normal case, the 888 will report itself as a manufacturer 4BF or something with a product ID of F3, hex F3, 00F3. When it fails, when it goes into the failure mode, it switches and identifies itself as product 0 hex 00BC, Baker Charlie, which is a different Cypress semiconductor device. And so we've been trying to chase down the source of why this happens. We have gotten to the stage where it appears that there's no non-volatile RAM that we can see on the 888 board. So there's no place for that ID to be stored through a power cycle. So it appears that that ID comes from a couple of pull-up or pins that are attached to the 888. And the theory at the moment is that the solder junctions on those go bad with over power cycling times, and the FX8 USB chip changes, then identifies itself as something else than the default float the pins up version. We have then, but apparently that isn't that the 888, the FX3 chip is still in a boot mode. And if we recognize that product ID, we're able to load the firmware, it appears, into the 888. Nevertheless, so the 888 then comes up, it identifies itself as a RX 888, it identifies its speed, it switches to the 5 gigabit mode from the default USB 2 mode. Everything works except no data arrives. So Phil's code has been instrumenting his code. We're trying to understand that. And we're hoping that Franco might give us some insight. I think he's the best person to do this. It seems like there's not a problem on the host side. It appears even that the whatever is microcode is loaded into the FX3 works. And I think that's the same microcode that is used by others who are using SDR console and other client programs. So our symptom, I think, might be a different version of what other users are encountering with their broken 888s. They're not truly broken. They've just misidentifying themselves. And it appears, even though we can load the microcode seems to be loaded into the 888, it appears that microcode may be looking at those same pins and saying, hey, I don't recognize this environment. I'm not a touch screen interface device. My code is designed for the RX 888. So that's my theory, at least. So we can go into more detail, but that's the locus of the problem. And I have a bunch of 888s on order, but it seems like many of them are failing, if not initially, over time. I hadn't stressed that I hadn't taken it out of the case. I hadn't applied any stress, mechanical stress to the 888 when this problem occurred. So I'd be interested in hearing from others who have experienced failures with the 888 in, well, none of you other than Phil are experimenting with the WISPR daemon environment, but in other environments, if you've had a failure and if it's a Linux environment, it would be interesting to see what the LSUSB command would tell you. I think hopefully it would correlate with what we've seen. At least we'd have only one problem to deal with. So that's my goal for this evening's discussion, is to resolve how do we get a 888 to work reliably. So does that make, I mean, Franco, I think you're the person who might have the best insight into this. Does my understanding or diagnosis seem reasonable?
Yeah, I read your emails over the weekend. I'm still catching up with Phil's emails, so I apologize, Phil, if I answered to you. And I think you are exactly right. So it seems like, from what I understand, there are 3 pins called P mode pins, and if P mode pin 2, I think, is high instead of high impedance instead of floating, then that's what happens. I mean, at least. The other thing I found out is this seems to be a mode called the Westbridge Benevicia mode, which
Yeah.
I think was an older version of the FX3. So I think Cypress wanted to get some compatibility and invented this mode. The hardware reason why this happened, I don't know, honestly, other than, see if the board has any fault or anything, any soldering that is missing or something. And I would also like to know if Michael Juan has the same problem. So if his problem is identical to yours or was a different symptom that he saw.
Do you think it's possible that maybe that pin was left floating? It wasn't tied down or up? It was supposed to be?
I think actually it should have been floating according to what the Cypress guide says, Phil. I think it was
always make
Z11Z.
me. Well, floating points always make me nervous in CMOS. I know.
Yeah.
Well, I
my
used to teach electronics, so I know.
But Franco, do you understand the firmware? Because I have no visibility into it.
Yes, I do. I mean, I do. I'm familiar with the firmware. I haven't had time to look at the firmware, what it does, if he uses the F3 to recognize it. But you said you were able to force it in, right? Somehow.
Well, I simply modify my code to recognize BC as the startup state, and then that loaded firmware normally and went to F3, F1, I mean.
Perfect. Okay, so B3 to F3 should have been worked because once it's F3, I know, sorry, you should have gotten F1, not F3.
F1, right. But it never streams data. It never streams data. It just sits there.
Yeah. Now, my question is that that BC Benevicia mode is not allowed to do the GPIF2. If you look in that link I sent you this morning, someone with Cypress says cannot do 32-bit GPIF, which is what is used to transfer data between the ADC and the FX3. I don't know if Oscar, I mean, the firmware uses 16 or 32. I have to look at that. I haven't had time to do that, but maybe that's the reason why. So I can try to figure out, but definitely that BC mode doesn't seem to be a good, at least from what I can tell now.
I haven't opened my unit up.
Will,
I haven't opened my unit up. Does anybody know where that P mode pin is physically? Is it accessible?
Oh, it's in the schematic, and I can tell you probably also by the chip, the FX3, where it's located. But if it's a BGA, maybe a pain in the neck to trace it. I mean, I'll see what I can find in the schematic. Actually,
you have
David,
a schematic
I think you
for
looked it
the
up
Mark
already.
II? Do you have a schematic for the Mark II?
No, but the part, I had a schematic of the original one, but the part that goes from the ADC to the FX3, I don't think has changed much. I think it's the same.
Okay.
I mean, my theory, then if it comes up in BC mode, is it always kind of stuck in that mode, or when can you load the microcode into the FX3? Doesn't it just do a complete brain transplant, or is it still limited by what the BC mode allows it to do?
That's $1 million question for Cypress. I mean,
I think what Franco
said makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. It may be that in that mode, the code will go, but it won't be able to use the transfer type he's talking about. And that would explain everything.
Yeah, that would. Well, I mean, I have 5 on order, and I'm inclined now to send them back because.
Well, I'm concerned because we're getting a lot of people to invest in this thing.
Yeah.
If we can find that pin and see if it's floating and then tie it ourselves up or down, you know.
Oh boy, that seems. I did open after it broke, and I opened it up yesterday, and boy, I mean, I don't see any pins. It's a BGA chip, and everything is. I think everything is buried under the chip, so that maybe you could reflow the whole thing, but I'm certainly not able up to have no idea how to do that.
So I would like to report, I have two, and based on Rob's suggestion of using LSUSB, they both came up in the F2 or F3.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's good.
That's good.
It must have been some other issue that I had.
Yeah, your issue is different.
Well, try my latest code. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
I'll try.
working,
I'll
you know,
refresh
working
the
for
Git.
me in the KFS and at OE9 GHV.
Yes.
Yeah, it's running reliably. His code is running reliably
Yes.
in two locations, one in Austria and one here in Half Moon Bay.
Three
So,
K9Q.
and oh yes, and
Yeah.
of course at your place. It's so it all the problem is not on the host side as far as we can tell. The problem is inside the FX3.
Right.
And so any of you in this call who have 888s on order, I would caution you, because even if they work, in my case, I had mine for a month and it just sitting on my desk and it stopped working.
Now, my latest code will look for any of the 4 startup codes and treat them the same. It doesn't seem to help, but it's there.
Okay.
But if the BC, if the startup code is BC, it loads it, it identifies itself that, LSUSB will then show it as a, as a Cypress with a RX88, all of the code. I gathered that all that
It
information.
just won't run.
It just nothing comes back. No
data,
no data gets delivered back to the host. But in other ways, LSUSB, it looks just like a working 888. So one more reason why we need to have our own 888 design. I think that this is, if there's only one, there may be only one good thing that comes out of this, which is hopefully gives us new impetus to design our own, where we have control over it.
Dave Witten is working hard at having a real CAD version of one of Oscar's earlier boards. That he could find all the PDF schematics, and he's turning it into a CAD file, and he's been working with Franco on that. So maybe we could start from there and start making radios.
Well, I remember way back before we worked on the Tangerine, we spent a lot of time talking about what are the specifications that we need in the radio for all the various different things, jitter and stability and all this.
Yes.
Does 888 meet all of those requirements that?
Well, our other target was to use Tom's RF board and then some sort of a USB driver for it.
I have one request. If somebody's doing their own version, make the low pass filter bypassable. On and off.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, yeah, we were hoping that we could easily interface Tom's RF board, somehow interface Tom's RF board to a FX3 USB chip, and if that could be done, then we would benefit from all of the expertise and work that Tom and others invested in the RX board, the Tangerine RF board. So that was, that was, I think, our current path. So we wouldn't have to go and respec the RF section. There's external clock input from GPSDO, so all of the clocking and all that aspects would remain the same as it was in the legacy Tangerine. So that's
yeah, and a switch that allows you to optionally switch a 1 PPS into the antenna.
Yes, that would be very nice. That would be very nice. Yes.
Yeah, Scotty has the boards for rework, and so we're sort of stuck where we can and can't test them right now.
Have
But-
you heard back from Scotty?
I just got an email saying he got the package. That's all I've
And
heard.
How
Dave
long ago was
McGaw-
that?
Excuse me,
Yeah.
Dave McGaw still has his, I think.
Yeah, Nathaniel, I'll
Yeah,
have to
that's
look it up.
correct. I still
think
haven't
it
sent
was-
it off.
I think it was about Tuesday that I got the email from Scotty.
Okay, so just under a week.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay, so I shouldn't worry about pinging him just yet.
Well, yeah, I mean, he could have taken him over to the contract manufacturer.
I'll just send him
or-
a text and see
Yeah.
what I hear.
We
Hey,
don't know.
Scotty.
And,
Yeah.
and Phil, the
Um,
filter is strappable. There's, there's a strap to bypass the filter. You can plug in any of several different kinds of filters,
Wonderful.
including one that you can provide power to the filter if you need it.
Good.
Is there,
Otherwise, passive.
is there a programmable attenuator?
Well,
there already is
are
one.
some relays, and you can select 0, 10, 20, or 30 dB of attenuation.
There already is an attenuator inside the thing,
Inside what?
inside
Wait.
the AAA.
Yeah,
Tom,
but this is a
Tom
different
is
design.
talking
So-
about the RF board for Tangerine.
Right,
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
yeah.
Well, that's very encouraging because then we could benefit and there wouldn't be a need to redesign the RF section. I mean, we could just hopefully just use it. And that would be, that's been, I think that our overall goal is to get to working hardware as quickly as possible.
And that would be really good for me because I'm hoping to have something that meets the basic original specifications of the Tangerine SDR for the
Yeah.
grant project.
Yeah.
So
I will mention that Dave Witten, myself, and Michael have some Cypress development boards. And we were trying to see what essentially Dave is wanting to put together an understanding of how the development board is addressing these RF boards, RF components. So, Phil, I also wanted to mention, I have been cataloging existing documentation on how to use things. Now, some of it needs to be modified. I put it on my GitHub originally. I've shared it with you, but I'm wondering if we should move it or if we should put it someplace else or just advertise it where it is.
Well, I need to do a lot of writing. I mean, I've been furiously
Yes.
using the code. And I'm busy with that right now.
We have a reference to Clint OE.
And I
And I-
heavily used pieces of Clint's with credit in there. And I also was able to find all of Phil's videos of where he talked about K9Q radio, going back into the DCC archives and such. And then, so I've been putting those pieces together. So it's there, it's on my GitHub, which is not by my call sign, but by my last name, because I have both my academic projects and my radio projects in one GitHub, unfortunately. The other thing that was brought up by Tom McDermott there is I have webmaster access to the Tangerine site. So if we wanted to set up a web page for K9Q radio there, it's a possibility.
Well, at the moment, I don't think there's any way to use it reliably.
Yes.
I wouldn't
Well,
want to
I
encourage
mean,
people.
it could be a place for like a configuration file or that kind of information.
Yeah.
Just offering.
Yeah. Well, I built in a configuration file for K9Q into Whisper Daemon, and
Okay.
And Phil supplies a whole a suite of them as a part of his Git pull. So you'll it's great to, it would be great to centralize everything and put it on the HAMSci site.
Yes.
With a reference from the home.
I will tell you, it's amazing the difference from 2 years ago when I first started working with KA9Q radio.
Well, I think it's, you know, I just completely changed my, you know, my development effort entirely. I've been looking for this for K9Q and the 888 for 5 years, really.
It fits my mental model of how radio should work.
Yeah, it does change it. It's really, so yeah, Ben.
Can I just ask for a point of clarification? The concern about the RX888 is because there may be a degree of reconfiguration which just isn't possible based on its current construction. It'll just be forever flaky and not reprogrammable to function. That remains a possibility, I guess I'm getting from the tenor of some of your comments.
It might just be a QA problem in manufacturing. We don't know.
Yeah, there's no feedback. We have no contact with the manufacturer, so we don't know how to, you know, even we don't even have a schematic, so we don't really know if it could be through. There's a JTAG interface apparently someplace. Perhaps one could JTAG it, but without a schematic or any of the, you know, any contact with the hardware developer, it's. Yeah, my experience is, you know, that, you know, is mine went, you know, ran for a month, went dead on Saturday, and it's been consistently, and when I say dead, it isn't fully dead. It misidentifies itself since Saturday, and it's consistent. It does that on through power-ups. I move it to other computers when it comes up on them, and it identifies itself as a fingerprint reader on all of them. So so once it's gone bad, I don't know how to. I haven't found a way to recover. So that's why I don't think it's, you know, at the moment I'm very hesitant and want to be about this as of owning more than one of them, because I just, you know, we're building on a house of sand here at the moment. We're building a house on sand. I'm sorry.
And that's the way mine, I can't tell you, Dave Witten has my RX888s, but it was behaving very similarly. It was loading a driver, but there was timing information, status information going back and forth, but no data coming out. So when I tried to do a monitor of the WWV, for instance, it looked like it was talking to the device, but no data was coming out and populating the separate frequencies.
What software or what's your listening software you're using?
K9Q running Phil's monitor program and listening to the WWV PCM stream.
Yeah, stream. Yeah. Okay, but that's equivalent to what I'm doing with Whisper Daemon. So yeah, that's if you do an LS USB -V, especially the verbose mode, it spits out all of the data about each of the USB devices, and you know, you can see all of the details. And it, you know, my broken one looks perfectly good. I mean, once Phil modified his host code to load the microcode into the FX3, it came up and it looks just like it was before when it was working. As far as you know.
The latest code does have more error checking. If it's got the problem, it will say so.
Yeah, it's Phil's latest code that he developed a couple hours ago will time out if there's no data, and you'll see it in the syslog. Varlog syslog will show you where his radio D spits out its log messages. And you can see it now timing out, saying there's no data arrived, and he goes and tries to reinitialize the 888. And
Well,
of course-
I exit and then let system D restart me.
Say that again. Oh, you
I
let
exit.
system D. Oh, yeah, system D restarts it. Yeah.
Yep.
Doesn't make any difference. It just keeps,
Mhm.
system D runs it, it times out, it fails, and system D restarts it again.
Hey, Rob, I was looking at the schematic. Let me share my screen. It's probably easier if you can see, if everybody can see it quickly, what the schematic shows. I hope this is the right window. Okay, do you see my screen, Rob and
Yes.
Phil?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so these are the 3 bad pins, okay, CP mode 1, 0, and 2. This is schematic for the X88 original, and it looks like, from what I can tell, NC is not connected, so 0 and 2 are floating, and 1 is high CVDD here. So it seems like being 0, 1, Z by default. So it's possible that this non-connection here got connected somehow. So now 2 is high 2. That's my best explanation. Now also here the number of the resistors. So I don't know if you, David, that as the thing can see these numbers here and see where is R1, R73, and R74. That's from the original, but I suspect this part hasn't changed.
Well, that's very. I'm going to do a screen capture on that one, Franco. I can.
Yeah, I was trying to send it.
Yeah, Dave Witten isn't here, but I'll make sure I'm going to talk to him tomorrow in person, and I'll make sure he has those numbers.
I wonder if there are any pads on the circuit board.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you can look, if you see R70 something, R1, you probably
Yeah.
can. And these pins are probably the pins on the BGA. So row G,
Yeah.
column 4, and so on.
I don't like floating pins, even if they say so.
You may just connect those the way you want them. Get 10K resistors and solder them on the board if they aren't there, and solder them to ground or VCC.
Probably low, yeah.
Mhm.
Well, I can open mine up and look at those pins. If
Yeah.
they're resistors, hopefully I can. They're visible. I have a. Let's see. Where do I have? We have a photo. I took a photo of the board when I had.
Do we know how many layers the board is?
No idea.
I mean, that's
4
a
or
scary thought
6,
too, if
I
it's 4 or
think.
6 layers.
4 or 6, I think.
Yeah.
There's a set of 3 resistors up in the upper right corner, 2 not loaded and 1 is, it looks like.
Wow.
That may be them.
Where's the picture? Let's see it.
I have a photo of my board that the resistors don't have numbers on them though.
It
Still
is
see
right next to
Franco's.
the Cypress chip.
Yeah, I
There are
still
no
see them.
numbers on the board for the no reference designators, but I
And there are more
suspect those are the
resistors
3
here.
resistors there.
Yeah.
You could also, if you have a good low current ohm meter, you could probe those.
Yeah.
The left side of the resistors to ground and see if you get contact. 'Cause these are balls up in the ball grid array that they're connecting to, it looks like. And so you can't see the connection point, but you could probe it to see if it seems like there's contact there. The 10K that's tied to
If you see the board in my screen, it's up in this corner.
Franco, can you unscrew, unshare your screen?
Yeah.
Yeah, let me just put myself on speaker. And if it comes up, now why am I not coming up as the speaker? Somebody's pinned. Anyway,
share your screen.
It's right there. I don't have a screen to share. I'm just showing you on my camera up in this upper corner where my finger is. That's where the 3 pin
Wait a minute.
3
If you
resistors
wanna
are.
see it bigger, you need to pick view.
Oh,
and
I
then-
see. I see. All right, show it again.
Right up here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And there are 3 pads for resistors there. 2 are not populated. One is.
Yeah.
That was
I
promising.
can share an actual photo I have here that might be a little clearer. If you guys want me
That's
to?
promising.
Let's see. Share. Where's share screen? Okay, here is my photo, and I think
There you
we're
are.
talking. I think we're talking
Upper
about
upper right. Right there.
right next to the
Ah,
R.
Right next to the
yeah,
RxTX.
Ooh.
Hold on a second. Let me move it. I'm just trying to zoom in a bit.
Those guys.
Those are
Ah,
good. Those are good. 2 opens and 1 shorted. That looks like it.
yeah. Can you get a high impedance meter in there?
I've got my fluke. I don't, that's.
What's the
I'm
usual impedance of these pins in this technology?
Hard to know if there's going to be a pull up in there if it's not powered.
Let's see. Well, I'd have to open mine up right here. Take a minute, but I could open this thing up and take a look at it while it's running. Even takes it requires a special tool. I don't know if any of you opened up your 888s.
Little screwdriver, isn't it?
Well, I just showed mine.
Here, I can stop sharing since you guys have seen it.
It doesn't really take. Yeah, it just takes a small Phillips screwdriver.
Yeah.
No, well, you have to slide. You slide in something underneath. There's a big thermal plastic connector in there, and
You can just
you
slide it.
you slide this. I slide this. I have this thing. I slide it in there, and then you can slide out the whole printed circuit board, so it's easy to remove.
You can work it out without that.
Yeah, I'm sure there are other ways to do it. Well, anyway, I can look at it.
I mean, just
but-
contamination on those pads could do it.
Well,
actually, I have mine powered. Let's just see if we can sense what voltage they're showing.
Be careful.
Oh, yeah.
If it's contamination, just touching it with a meter might pull it one way or the other too.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I'd measure the resistance of that resistor that's there and see if it's a 10K. And then
There's a
I'd stand up.
3.3 on the lower side of the open ones.
3 volts?
Yeah, 3.3 volts.
All right, probably VCC.
And 3.3 on the upper side. And a 0 on the side of one of them. And 3.3 on the other side, which is interesting. And then 0 and 0 on
Oh
the
yeah,
shorted
one's
one.
pull up and the other 2 are open. There's probably an internal pull down. But it might be as simple as looking in there on the voltage in that pin. If it's not 0.
now I don't know who, but you're looking at one that's working, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He
So
is.
mine is one that isn't working.
Well, yours.
That's the. Let me get my. Boy, these are small. I'm not sure my probe tips are small enough to see these.
Dave Witten has Mike's unworking one. So I'll share the information you gave with Dave.
Okay.
I don't know if you're all waiting on
what's
me.
interest-
Don't wait on me. I'm not sure if I'm going to get any useful information here. So do we have any other subjects to discuss? Is that we've kind of ended up focused on this?
Well, if I can just say it before we get off of this, what's odd is that on one of these, you've got 3-3 on both sides of the no stuff. And the other one, you have 0 on one side and 3-3 on the other side. So since they're all connected to 3.3 on one side, yeah, this doesn't make sense now that I think about it. Maybe these
Wait,
aren't the same 3 resistors.
The pin that's supposed to be pulled up is at 0?
Yeah,
Oh,
the one that has the resistor that's supposed to be pulled up is actually at 0 volts.
really? Is it maybe
Now-
read only at startup and then it becomes an output?
Well, the point is that the VIO voltage, which I presume is 3.3 volts,
Yeah.
it's not showing up at that 10K resistor. So maybe these aren't they, it's just circumstantial.
They're not connected. One end, I was trying to, just before I power mine up, I was trying to take one end of the resistors or where the pads are and see if they're shorted together, because they ought to be connected to each other according to the schematic. And I don't see any connectivity between them. So that suggests that they're not the resistors we think they are. Oh, yeah.
These are not the resistors you're looking for.
It's interesting that so many people are having trouble here, that therefore there ought to be a lot of other people that are getting these boards having trouble and feeding this back, and somewhere there ought to be a communication chain. I don't know if you guys have been sending any notes back. Of course, sending them back to China
Back
is
to who?
difficult, and they fan out pretty bad. So talking to the right guy is hard to do.
Well, Franco is on the list that discusses this driver.
Not clear these resistors are connected in the way that we think they are from my ohmic measurements.
Might need to study it all a little more there.
Is there 3-3 on the other side of all three?
I didn't look at that. I'm just looking from your
No,
schematic.
one of
from
them
the schematic.
has, one of them that, the one that's present has 0 volts on both sides.
Oh,
That
both
doesn't-
sides, both sides. Well,
I see another no connect up above the of the cypress. There's a pair of pads that have no. That might be part of a candidate group. I don't see any other no connects on my board. I see 3 no connects.
Yeah, on this board, the right 2, the upper pins, the upper pin is at ground. And so the leftmost, the upper pin presumably is at 3.3. So they're not matching that schematic.
oh,
Looking on the other side of the board, there's what's there? No, those are all populated. I don't see. Don't know. I'm not inclined to power mine up with my probes there for fear of shorting something out. Given that I can't even see that, find where the 3 resistor pads are tied together. I would think that all the top 3 would be, according to that schematic, should be shorted. So you should have 0 ohms between them, but I don't measure that with my ohm meter.
Yeah, and the resistor that's there is measuring 2.4K, not 10K.
Yeah, right. That's what I got here.
That must be something else.
Yeah.
I have something that's supposed to be the schematic of the first version. Where is this? A to D. Tactile switch. Where's
I
our
found
switch?
3 10K resistors just below that.
Hate modern schematics, lots of little islands. You don't know where they go. Oh, found it. Well, the different number implies it might be in a totally different place. R1 versus 73 and 74.
I just wondered if the mechanical stress of being inside that box might have, with that foam,
or heat,
stressing the, not the heat. I was thinking more of the stress, mechanical stress, the bend of the PC board from having this thermal foam pushing the PC board against the
No,
PC board.
it doesn't push that hard.
Well, I'm just,
It's pretty soft foam.
it is, I agree, but I don't have another
Yeah.
theory of why it's gone bad.
Well, you got 2 more in the way, right, Rob?
I've got 5 more on the way.
Oh.
So I guess I get 14 days to turn around and return them. But this is this isn't the way I like to operate.
No, not me either.
It's I just don't like stabbing around at hardware.
Not when it's supposed to work.
So I put in, of course, I put in a tech support call up to the vendor, but of course I don't expect to hear anything. They said, we'll get our technical department to you. I said, well,
Yeah, right. Well,
they don't have a technical department. I'm sure these are, so but I did point out to them in my message to them, I said, you ship me 5 more and they'll be coming back unless I can fix this. So that might give them a little incentive.
more than 5 going back.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to be able to return this one, but that's okay. So, but it sure seems like it would be a shame if Cypress is so inflexible that it somehow ties some layer of firmware functionality, the chip functionality, to these pins. It seems like it ought to be reprogrammable.
Yeah,
by
yeah.
microcode. That would surprise me, but you know, I know nothing about the FX3, so I can't.
Well, if Franco can look at the code and understand it.
That's you're our, Franco, you're our only hope.
Yeah.
So
is this happening to every one of these devices?
Not everyone, but an awful lot.
Not yet.
You should inspect your boards real closely and see if you see like solder flux or stuff where they didn't clean up the surface very well. And if it's poor workmanship or a soldering issue, you might be able to spot a problem. You can measure the supply current on each one and see if there's a variation. And you could wash them in alcohol, either just isopropyl alcohol, but you'll leave some white residue. I like to use other types of alcohol like liquor that you can purchase at the liquor store, Everclear, and it's almost pure ethyl alcohol, and it won't leave any residue. It's flammable, so don't forget that.
Well, I'm hardware phobic, and I'm also, yeah. Anyway, do we have any alternatives to go forward? I mean, my software development work is kind of at a standstill here, at least my integration. Phil, are you? I guess you have other devices to support
Yeah, I
other
have
devices.
3.
What's
One
in
from
there right now?
Amazon, 2 from China.
I mean, no, I mean other types of devices. Your AirSpy.
Yeah, AirSpy.
I don't have an AirSpy.
AirSpy HF.
I don't want to buy a device that I don't want to use, except for debugging. What about RTL SDRs? I wouldn't listen. But when you're done with that, at least then I could go forward. I'd have a piece of hardware that would be functional.
I was going to work on that one next.
Good. Well, I think that may be that's what I would put
And
in
the
as
SDR play.
And I have a bunch of those, but they're all in use out of KFS. So,
well, the AAA at KFS is still working.
Yes, I know, but I don't hate to take. I mean, I guess I could go out and. I guess you're right. I could start doing my debug. It's just been so reliable out there. I hate to be.
Yeah, I leave that one.
We have one working unit. The spot counts, by the way, are significantly better. I'm getting anywhere from 10%, anywhere from like 3% to 30% more spots from the same RF. Okay. Okay. I mean, there may be there are a number of factors that could influence this, but I have at KFS, I have a single RF feed going into a passive splitter. One side goes into a Kiwi, the other side goes into an RX 888. And the 888, which is reporting as KFS/Q, on 20 meters, for example, will have anywhere from 5% to 30% more spots. SNR isn't any different, much different, but the spot counts are significantly better.
Well,
so it may be because we've got the AGC, Phil's got the AGC turned on. We have fixed AGC in the Kiwis. I don't know. I mean, I haven't had time to experiment. I don't want to experiment on the one that's working out of KFS right now. But I think there's some reason to believe that this could be a significant step up in receiver performance over the Kiwis, which in the past we have compared against Flexes and other and found that the Kiwis were pretty much equivalent within a dB or so of the whisper performance. Now, this is, one application. But for whisper decoding, we did some fairly extensive testing on the Kiwis. And while they have some bench test frailties in operation, they supplied as many spots as the Flex did on the same kind of test, the same antenna going into a splitter and going to each of them.
Rob,
So-
I have a question.
Yes.
How much do you know about the original manufacturer of the 888?
Nothing, zero, absolutely nothing.
It's kind of a black box. And I just wonder how much effort it would be worth to find out exactly who it was and establish some contact.
Well, I've tried to go through the vendor I bought it from. I don't know if there's any other path. I don't know who. There's a guy by the name of Ping, and I took my Google Translate and pointed it at the board, and there it is in Chinese. There's something about Ping, and in Chinese. But other than that, there's nothing identifiable on. But no manufacturer numbers. There's not even a version number, I think, on here. I don't think I saw even a version number on the board.
For all you know, that could be loaded with malware.
I don't. Yeah, it could be, but I think that's not my. I'm not so worried about that. Because it's not a computer.
But its provenance and its true nature are still not well understood. That's
why. That's why I hope this group develops of their own. I'd rather, this is, I think the architecture is great, the Cypress and whatever you put on the other side of it, and Phil software will work great. We don't have a piece of hardware that I can use right now. I'm dead in the water.
That's got to be traceable through one of the vendors. Somebody's got to know.
Well, anyway. Okay. So are we, do we have action items out of all this? I guess. I think, Franco, I think we've done everything between Phil and me, we've done everything we can on the host side. So, and if we could help, you can have access to mine, Franco, you're welcome to log in.
No, I understand, but if it's, I'm reading, sorry, there is a document, I don't know if you saw this application note, so let me send you the link. I'm reading through that here now. Yeah, let me just send you the link. Hopefully it will work here.
This looks interesting. Page in their manual.
So if you go there, hopefully the link didn't get cut. On page, let me see.
Such a simple part, 661 pages of documentation. Wow.
Oh, here we go. Even better. I figured there had to be
there,
a
Rob,
purpose.
on page 7, and there is a table 1, boot option. I can share my screen actually, probably even better.
Page 7.
Yeah, let me just share my screen so
you see the boot options.
You see this table 1 here? Oh.
Mm-hmm.
And from that schematic together with this, I think they're running Z1Z, if I understand the non-connection and the VDD connection here. So I suspect they run E2C first and then USB, at least on a good one. Now, I haven't been able to map yet this boot option to what device ID they show, you know, to what USB PID they show.
But
I'm
the
gonna have to
funny
do
thing
that
is,
probably.
it seems to take your boot, takes your boot and goes to device ID F1.
Yeah, it goes.
Right.
So it's clearly booting, even though it's
Yeah.
and the code that I guess that it appears like the code that gets downloaded into the F3X FX3, that code is very different than the boot code. It's identifying itself as a RX888 and it has all of the attributes. So it's booted, even though it is presenting the wrong PID.
Yeah, the samples never flow. You never get the callbacks.
Well, notice that 3 of those boot options are coming from USB. So if it has to get in one of those other odd modes to
Right.
fail over and not.
So
work.
what else is different about those modes? You got to figure out what the differences are.
I mean, is there something that Franco could do since his code is being loaded into the FX3? Is there someplace in that code, Franco, where you see some mention of F1, XF1?
Oh, you know, F1 is in the USB descriptor, so I can share you the code. That's pretty easy to see in the code. Let me give you, hold on a second.
Do you have the raw?
Or more actually more significantly, actually more significantly,
the repo here. Hold on a second. Let me give you the. Okay, here, and let me give you where the F1 comes from. Let me hold on a second. I just need to look at.
while you're looking, Franco, my thought is, if the host was confused by this different product ID, the BC product ID, and we had to modify the host code to recognize that BC was a uploadable product ID. Perhaps there's something in the code, maybe not even your code, but someplace else in the code that is being loaded into the FX3. Perhaps there's something where it looks at the
Exactly.
at those pins and says, "Oh, wait a second, BC, I don't recognize. I don't know what to do with that, and you know, I'm not an F1, so I can't do anything."
That was exactly my thinking. Yeah.
That's my theory. Okay, and now
Suspicion,
not knowing that code that's getting loaded into the FX3, I don't know. But if I would search for 0x00BC or 0x00F1, or F3. It would be F3 because it would start as F3, but it's switching itself into F1 and presenting itself as F1 to the host, but that doesn't mean that it isn't confused about what kind of environment it is internally.
There are 2 other modes where it loads from a local EEPROM, but there's no EEPROM, right?
Yeah.
Well, this sounds like.
So if you look at that link I just sent you, that's the source code where the F1 comes from. Now the F1 is the ID that he gets, the product IP that he gets after it's loaded, so that's why. But the F3, the initial one, I don't think is controlled by anything but those 3 pins. I mean, that's my understanding of their application note, Rob.
Ah, there we go. Yeah, you're right. So it must be, the code must be running. The firmware must be running.
This is hardwired logic into that chip to come up and look at those pins and decide where to boot from.
Yeah.
We don't have any firmware loaded at all yet at the time.
But the F1 does come from the firmware.
Yeah, it's the device descriptor,
Yeah.
Well, I noticed one of the modes is boot from USB. Is that not what they're using?
Oh, I bet they are.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's working.
Well, 3 of the 5 modes are boot from USB if the other modes are not available. If I2C is not there, it fails over.
I mean, as an experiment, we could change that F1 to something else and see if it changes when it comes up. If you really want to prove that the firmware is running. Anybody
Yeah,
know
that's
how to,
doable. I mean,
I
anybody
thought
know
you
how to
said there was
recompile the code?
no non-volatile RAM on this,
no, as far as I know, there's none.
which means it has to boot from the host.
Because, you know, at the time this happened, Rob,
Yeah.
you and I were trying to do something with it at the same time. We were colliding, remember?
We might have collided, yeah. So we might have collided and corrupted something,
the-
but that it's hard to understand how that that would persist through a power
Exactly,
cycle.
unless there is an EEPROM somewhere we don't know about.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm going to say 73 for tonight.
Okay, yes, you don't.
Okay.
If there's, I hope we haven't hijacked any other discussions. But
No, I mean, this is very interesting. Rather disappointing, I guess, is really what it is, but
It is.
yeah. Hopefully I was hoping to hear like better news than this. But
Well, I mean, there is better news.
Yeah,
I mean, you know, the rest of it's working.
that's true. So I guess we'll get it debugged and
And maybe we just have to accept that there's going to be a pretty high failure rate on these devices until we can get our own.
yeah.
Or
Yeah.
we can figure out what's going on here and fix it, which would be
Yeah.
ideal. Yeah.
But I in my case, I'm a little hesitant to you know, I've got $800 in flight between China and here on
Right.
five more of these, and you know, I don't mind you know, one of them going bad on me, but if all five of them I end up, you know, with $1,000 invested in little black
Yeah.
bricks.
Yeah.
I am curious though, Franco, if you know of a way to use the tuner, the VHF UHF tuner, just, you know, I mean, it's sitting there, not doing anything.
Yeah, but the tuner is connected to the ADC, so I'm not sure what you mean by using the tuner if you cannot pull the
Oh, no,
IQ from the ADC.
I'm just saying, no, for the devices that work like mine.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's already configured, and I can show you how to use the tuner too, Phil. I mean,
Yeah,
maybe
please,
not
yeah.
tonight, of course, but
Please, yeah, I'm interested. Just tell me how to.
yeah, I can send you, or we can chat, or I can send you some links to how to use the tuner.
That'd be great. It'd be great to have. I
Yeah.
mean, this design is everything I wanted. I've been wanting to have Whisper Demon working on VHF and UHF bands, and I've been, you know, the RTLs didn't work. I couldn't get them to work.
Now,
and-
before you get too excited, remember the tuner can only do 10 megahertz of
Oh, yes,
bandwidth,
yeah,
right?
I know.
Okay.
I know.
Okay.
All right,
Wanna
I'm
make
gonna
sure.
leave as well. 71. Thank you, Nathaniel, for listening to me. Thank you.
Also, I've been thinking about
night, everyone.
small calibrations. Sorry.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about correcting for small frequency errors by doing a very small sample rate slip.
The thing is remarkably accurate. I mean, I mean, in fact, it's frighteningly accurate. And worrisomely accurate. We're looking at, you know, we have with Whisper Demon, we have these ability to monitor the frequency drift and inaccuracies, and so I'm comparing at KFS and you know, I'm comparing the GPS discipline Kiwis spreading numbers against those I get from the undisciplined 888, and the 888 is giving me more stable numbers than a Bogner-driven Kiwi.
Let me check mine against a SWWV right now. I think it was about 2 hertz off at 15. I think, if I remember right.
Yeah, I didn't look at the accuracy. Now I'm not talking about accuracy. I'm looking at stability.
Oh, stability.
Yeah, stability. Okay. The accuracy, we need a calibration. Yes, we need a way to calibrate them. Although I expect, I bought a punch and it's easy enough to add an external clock input. So almost all the Whisper Demon guys who are getting these are buying everybody's moving to Bogner or other disciplined Kiwis or 888s. So the absolute accuracy will be dictated by the Bogner, but the fact that there's so much greater stability from the 888 than from a Bogner disciplined Kiwi is unexplained.
Yeah.
To make a oblique reference to a History Channel TV show. Anyway, so that's a very perplexing result that I've seen. Why would the oscillator on the 888 be so much better than a Bogner in terms of stability?
Yeah, hold on a second. Let me mute here so I don't blast your guys' earring with WWV.
Yeah. Let's see if I can. Since while we're waiting here, this is let's see. This is the kind of numbers that we get from this is we're receiving a this is a Bogner disciplined transmitter, line of sight to KPH. And you can see this is on 10 meters, and you can see down here, this is the spectral width of the received signal. So this is a 28 megahertz signal, and it has 5 millihertz of spectral spreading, which is really the sample size. I mean, I think from the FFTs, the JT9 FFT. So, I mean, this is you get some notion. There are some outliers here occasionally from we think from airliners or so on, where you get multipath. But if we oh, I hear some tone. Is that you? Maybe that's not.
No,
So
I
if
had my microphone muted.
Okay. KFS/ let's see, I got to type it. KFS/Q. Okay. And let's see.
Are you sure you're measuring it correctly?
Oh, what do you mean measuring it correctly? We have.
I don't know, measuring spectral width. I mean,
Oh yeah, we have. This is extremely well calibrated sites. Yeah, this has been exhaustively tested and validated by Glenn N6GN and others. A whole bunch of. So this is KFSQ. No, that's not the sender. It's WB6. But this looks at N6 GN as the transmitter. This is Glenn transmitting from Fort Collins and received by at KPH. And you can see this is 1 hop ionospheric, and you can see that the spectral spreading now is 35, 45. When we have this is the last 24 hours, you can see it's pretty low. If we go and look at the same reception over at KFS, and let's do it on his Omni. This is also GPS disciplined. And for some reason, the spreadings are, they're 34. You can't do side by sides here, but you can see that they're the same. But if I go to KFS/Q, if you can keep that picture in your mind, these are even better. This is the ARX 888, not GPS disciplined. So,
well, if you're looking at short-term noise, a crystal that you don't touch is going to beat everything, right?
Well, it's short term is spreading over 2 minutes.
Yeah, or less than that.
Well, no, these are 2-minute long packets. We're looking
Yeah,
at
well,
the spread,
maybe
the
the,
spreading.
maybe the message is that these GPS DOs tweak their crystals too much.
I don't know. I mean, that's the Bogner is very well characterized. There is one possibility, which is that we may be overdriving the external clock input of the Kiwis.
Yes.
And this is a general issue for the users of GPS DO that especially if you're feeding your GPS DO into a 5351's clock pin, that pin is really wants to run it at a few hundred millivolts. And if you're feeding at a couple volts, you may be overdriving the internal circuitry, and it's going into saturation and such. So this is not a problem unique to Kiwis or 888s, but it's one that I don't think has been very. I was unaware of it, and I don't think many of us were.
I'm hitting my air spies directly with the output of this 10 megahertz distribution amp that I have.
Yeah, and well, you might find that you get, until you go down and look at things like, this is in essence a kind of phase noise we're looking at here, the spectral spreading number, and you may be getting, degrading the noise performance of your device by overdriving it from your GPS DO. Anyway, that's an aside.
Okay, Glenn, Mike, can I
Yeah, that's
let me grab the
back to
screen
you.
here. Hold on a second, sorry, I was a little confused here.
Yeah.
Let me share screen with the screen that has all the numbers.
I think we lost Franco. It's too late there.
All right, this is a channel. It's actually not tracking WWV. It's tracking all the leakage from my GPS DO. Even though WWV is in the background, notice the PLL over here on the linear demodulator. I have a PLL tracking the carrier, and it's pretty much on frequency. And I have it tuned at 1.3 hertz high, so that's what 0.13 ppm.
That's kind of what they spec, right? I thought there's some mention about it of 0.3 or 0.1 ppm oscillator on the 888.
Okay. Let's see. I just narrowed the loop bandwidth a little bit. It's still pretty close to 0. It's a little bit high. Let me take it down a couple tenths of a millihertz here. Of course, yeah, well, okay, all right. 1.36 hertz. I don't know. I mean, it's getting.
Which one? Where is it? Which field am I looking at?
All right, the under linear demodulator over here, where it says PLL offset.
Okay, that's what I thought.
And then over here at the frequency is tuned to. Now it's actually seeing a mixture of stray 10 megahertz WWV.
Okay.
So
you're.
Yeah, I mean, I could go disconnect my antenna; it would help.
Well, I can Whisper Demon can compensate for frequency offsets. I just adjust the audio frequency, the spot by frequency by whatever the error is, and the offset. And we have to do that for the Kiwis. The Kiwis have an offset of about 1.3 hertz. I mean, 0.13 hertz.
I was thinking. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
No. So I can there's a configurable variable to compensate for such errors. But in general, it surprises me that I don't know what the long-term stability is, but I've never seen such a difference before. Not that I looked.
Well, I was thinking about putting in corrections for very small sampling rate errors when you don't have an external oscillator by periodically adding or dropping samples, but I'm worried about the phase noise that would introduce.
Yeah.
I could interpolate samples.
we ran into problems with the Kiwi when he was doing stuff like that. And we ended up with audio band aliases and spreading and weirdness. We ended up saying, pick the RF sample frequency to be an integer multiple of the 12 kilosample handed wave file that you're going to hand to Whisper Demon or
Yeah.
JT0. And if you do that, then there's no, presumably, at least in the case of the Kiwi, all of this audio weirdness disappeared.
Oh.
And the Kiwi has, the factory Kiwi has a 66.66666 internal oscillator, which is not an integer multiple of 12 kilohertz. And so it ends up producing, audio offsets and sample offsets.
It could be because the digital down converter and that thing is all in an FPGA that it's working in limited precision.
I'm pretty sure it is. Now in your case, I'm sure you're doing a floating point. You're
double precision floats for the oscillator.
Yes. So these issues may never surface in your environment. And it's one of the many reasons I want to use your environment.
But thinking if I do correct for sample rates, I'm going to read up on sample rate conversions with very, very close ratios, close to 1.
That's the problem we saw with however John Siemens implemented in the Kiwi was he introduced spurs in the audio.
Yeah.
But that's one of the reasons we want to get away from a FPGA based SDR.
Well, I can't afford to use double precisions for everything. I use singles for all the samples. But I did find adding precision for frequencies and phases.
Yeah. Well,
especially when they're accumulated or integrated.
I trust where to apply them. I don't. This is your area of expertise.
I have learned.
Okay. Okay, we burned out everybody. We've got a few left or lurking. Yeah. You're welcome to interject questions because I'm just kind of wandering around.
Rob, I just sent you an email. I'd really like to know the name of the OEM vendor that you're in touch with. And I'll try and see if I can make a contact through some artful means. If you could email that to me at some point.
Okay, well, I'll show you. It's an AliExpress vendor. There's
got to be a way to work that back. I think could be a sensitive issue if they don't handle this right, because their whole production is going to be threatened, not to mention the reputation.
I was trying to alert them to it, but probably the sales support guy that looked at me doesn't understand the significance of.
I've been through this problem before, and I think persistence eventually will get you someplace, but it's not easy.
I think you're much better endowed with persistence than I am. I get frustrated.
I never in my life could I have stayed with a project as long as you have. So I won't defer to you.
Well, I have some kind of. Okay. Well, did we have anything else that we were? No. Okay. Well, let's see what Franco got. Yeah, right. Okay. Bill's gone. Franco's gone. I don't know what we can do, Phil. I think I can wait for. I'll wait for more. I don't want to experiment on mine. I don't really want to experiment on anyone's at this point for fear I might break it for them. Maybe it was something I did. It's.
Well, you're not the only person having this problem, though, right?
We didn't get a clear answer from that. Yeah, other people are having a problem. We don't know that if it's this problem.
My guess is you've got a situation similar to other Chinese products where they don't do adequate documentation and accountability and quality control. It sounds like might be worth to follow up and hold their feet to the fire. Somebody's invested some time and money in this, but this could rapidly become an orphan in the marketplace, and that too bad. I hate to see that happen.
Somebody claims to have 1,000 of these in stock.
Well, woe be unto them. They're the people who are most sensitive to this.
I would think that they would be the people that, but I'm not sure the people I bought it from are the ones that had the 1,000 in stock.
Well, if you can find me a large distributor, I will go to work on them.
Okay, well, I will send you the person the vendor
Okay.
I got them from, and I'll show you where my dialogue is with them.
Did you discover them on Amazon or eBay?
No, this is AliExpress. They're
Okay. I've never done business with them, but there's got to be a way through this.
Well, you know, a lot of people on Amazon, I believe, are getting their AAAs from the guys on AliExpress, and because there's a $75 to $100 markup on Amazon vendors over the
really. Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. So my inference is that there's a bunch of there's a few guys here who are buying these things and then reselling them at a markup and trying to make some money on it.
I only paid for the first one because I wanted in a hurry before I left.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I found these Chinese vendors that are sensitive to is negative feedback. I've had a lot of luck jerking their strings just by posting negative feedback. They seem to live in mortal fear of that at one time. I'm not sure about today, but
well, I would be my thought was to, in addition to the vendor's site, to go to the Next Generation Network, which seems to be where Franco and others are posting about this and other SDRs. And that Groups IO forum, the NGN networks or NGN SDRs seem to be the I think has the most extensive. That's where I think where Clint found Franco. So anyway.
Well, you don't want to be nasty, get a hold of them, but
No. You don't.
But you have to let them know that they're in the limelight and they've got to get this right. And
yeah,
I found that most vendors are very sensitive to that.
Yeah.
Well, Tom, here I think I've got my I saved the customer support page is still open because I'm afraid that I will never get back to it.
Yeah.
But it's a place called the Open Source SDR Store. Nice sounding name. That's what we're about. Anyway, here I'll send you a snapshot and a link to their site. I appreciate your help. That would be great if we can. Okay, I just okay. Dave Larson is still there? Or is it just that he didn't want to terminate the Zoom call? Okay, well, Phil, if you can get the RTL SDR working, I've got a bunch of those. Even if they break, I could switch one out. I even have a one modified for GPSDO input.
Yeah, those are like candy. They're so cheap.
Yeah, I know they are. I think I have 8 of them, and I never actually. I don't know why I bought so many of them. So can't figure it out. My thought was that I put together a VHF UHF, a Whisper Demon VHF UHF station where you'd have a Pi with 4 of those, SDRs, one for each of the 50 megahertz, 6 meters, 2 meters, 70 and 23. It'd have 4 of them, and you'd have a single Pi decoding and logging Whisper on spots from all those bands, and that would there was the current state of Whisper transmissions on 2 meters and 432 is that kind of gone silent because there's nobody listening.
Yeah.
So there was in the past some interest in doing it, but because there's nobody listening, and listening is so hard, even harder than transmitting. And it's more
Yeah.
expensive. You have to dedicate something to it. So the thought of a Pi and 4 RTL SDRs is a kind of entry level VHF whisper station. Appealed to me. I mean, you have a disc cone and you can split the RF, and it seems like it might encourage. It won't work nearly as well as a 16-bit 888, but it'd be a whole lot cheaper. So, anyway, be interesting to compare the real world performance of the two. And we could do it pretty easily, but anyway, I look forward to let me know if you get to your RTL in, and that would allow me to resume my debugging. So I'd have something that would fire up, and where
Okay.
your stuff
I
would run.
haven't used the RTL much, but I got some.
It's really just as a stalking horse here so there's something
I understand.
that I
yeah.
can run your code until we've figured out the 888 problem. Okay.
Okay.
So I think, thank you for joining. Thanks everyone thanks Dave for organizing it, and for the rest of you for listening.
Better than TV.
Oh, yes.
Okay. I will sign out unless anybody has a question for me.
I'll see you Wednesday.
Okay. Take care.
Bye.
See you all.
Bye.
Bye.
I guess I can end this. It looks like Dave assigned it to me, so I'm going to close everything.